What is going on, guys? Welcome to the video. Today's video is going to be kind of more of an informative video. So we're going to be talking about kind of the side effects of fat loss, kind of the stuff that no one really talks about but should talk about, the stuff that I wish someone would have told me before I went into a hardcore fat loss journey. But if that sounds interesting to you, sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Alright, so the side effects to fat loss. If you guys have been following me for a while, I have just recently finished my cut. So I did a 14-week cut, ended up losing somewhere close to like 30 pounds. It got down to the leanest I have ever been. I will throw up a photo right there so you guys can see. But coming down to that low body fat percentage, there's a lot of things that like I didn't want to talk about because I wasn't sure if I should talk about them or that other people don't talk about or put it on social media. But the other day I made a post on my Instagram and I asked if you guys would want a video on this topic, and I got a couple comments saying yes. So also a good plug for my Instagram. So if you guys aren't following me on Instagram, you guys should go do that. So if you notice me looking over here, this is where I have my computer for my notes for this video. So if I'm glancing over there, then that's what that is. So first thing is going to be the hormonal effects of a fat loss diet. So coming down and getting to single digit levels of body fat isn't natural. Your body doesn't want to do that. It doesn't want to be that low of body fat. It's trying to hold on to as much body fat as it can, or not as much, but the comfortable amount of body fat that your body needs to go about its daily functions. Body. Said body a lot. But so some of the things that are going to happen is your leptin. So leptin is the hormone that regulates your satiation. So when you feel full, so once you start a diet and you decrease calories below maintenance, your leptin levels are gonna start to lower. So that's gonna mean you're gonna eat food, but you're not gonna feel full. So during my diet, I would like eat, you guys saw that entire like huge salad, and I would physically be full, but I just mentally would not be satisfied. I'd feel like I could eat more, even though my stomach was like bloated, and I was like, oh my God, I cannot eat anymore. It's because my leptin levels were so low that I thought I could still eat food. So that is going to be one of the things with your hormones that is gonna happen when you start dieting. And another thing that plays in with leptin levels is your ghrelin levels. So ghrelin is the hunger hormone, basically. It signals when you're hungry, when you're not hungry, that kind of thing. But as you decrease your calories below maintenance into a caloric deficit for fat loss, your ghrelin levels are going to raise. So you're going to feel hungry more often, or even all the time. And I think that's kind of just one of the things that's gonna happen during a fat loss phase, is just you're gonna feel hungry. There's not that many ways around it because these hormonal effects, there's not that much you can do. But this is only speaking if you're gonna be coming down to like super lean body fat percentages, like I'm talking like 8, 9, 10. 10's not too bad, but like kind of like the single digit body fat percentage, you're gonna experience these things. So your ghrelin levels are gonna raise, you're gonna be hungry all the time, which it kind of sucks, to be honest, but it's just kind of one of those things that you have to deal with. Chug a bunch of water, keep yourself full, that sort of thing. The other thing is, another hormone is your cortisol levels are most likely gonna rise. So cortisol is the hormone that regulates your stress, basically. So cortisol isn't necessarily a bad thing, it gets a bad rap. Cortisol is how we respond to stressful situations. So if our cortisol raises a little bit, it's not necessarily a bad thing. But when you're training super duper hard every day, you're not giving your body the calories that it needs, your cortisol levels are going to start to rise. And that can affect things like anxiety, your sleep patterns, your recovery rate during your workouts, and a couple other things like that. So having the cortisol levels super high during the dieting phase is not really what you want. So optimally, it's good to take, 2 to 3 days off of the gym per week, just kind of kick back, relax, chill out, and get those cortisol levels down to normal. That is what I just had to do recently, because I feel like I've been just kicking in my body, and my cortisol levels have probably been higher than they should be. If you're a guy, your testosterone levels will start to lower during a dieting phase, and this is just due to, again, not giving your body the nutrients and the calories it needs. So a couple things that I do to kind of keep my testosterone levels higher is I take a zinc supplement. So zinc is really good in helping boost natural testosterone levels. I would not recommend going on any of those testosterone boosters. I kind of looked into them, but then I was like, that looks shady, so I don't think I'm gonna do that. And especially if you're young, like I'm only 20 right now, so my testosterone levels are primed, you know, for muscle growth. So there's no real reason that I should have super low test, but it will decrease a little bit as you go through the diet. And testosterone is really important for holding on to lean muscle mass. So I just take a zinc supplement, 1 capsule every day, and that kind of helps just to keep my natural testosterone levels up. Kind of the final hormonal effect, or like major hormonal effects, is going to be your libido. So your libido is, your libido will go down. Your libido is regulates your desire to have sex. So since your body is in a caloric deficit, like it has to be to lose fat, as I've mentioned, your sexual desire is going to be far less because your body just wants to conserve what energy it has. You're only giving it 1,800 calories, it needs 2,500 to go about its daily activities. Using energy to have sex is the last thing your body is thinking of doing, so your libido is going to go way down, which kind of segues into our next effect of fat loss, which is relationship effects. So things such as the lowered libido can have effects on relationships, such as with your partner, you know, your girlfriend, your wife, your spouse, whatever it is. It could be hard for them, especially if they're not dieting like you are and they don't know what you're going through. You saying, no, don't really want to do it tonight, is probably going to upset them a little bit. So you kind of got to be cautious with that, not cautious, that you have to be sympathetic to other people's feelings and kind of just realize that you put yourself through this diet and no one else did, so you can't really get mad at people when you are being kind of, you know, like if you're hungry or you're a little or you're tired. You got to realize that you put yourself in this situation, not anyone else. So you can't go around blaming everyone else, being like, well, you guys for eating that pizza right there. Like, no, you put yourself in this situation to be in a diet because you have a goal that you want to reach. And there's no problem with that, but you just have to be sympathetic to other people and not lash out on them when it's like, yeah, you're just gonna eat that pizza right there, right in front of me? Cool. No, you just gotta be like, oh, you know what? You enjoy that pizza because I can't. I'm gonna eat this dry chicken breast and just pretend that it tastes like pizza. Another thing that relationship affects, when you're going through a diet, you can't really go about and do all the social aspects, you know, going out for drinks, going to movies, going to the bar, stuff like that. It becomes a lot harder to do that when you are on a strict diet and you're restricted to certain foods. Like, yeah, you could go to a movie, but the temptation to, you know, have some like popcorn or the candy there is gonna be high. So if your willpower is super high, then, you know, go for it. Go watch the movie, just don't eat anything. But going out for like social events like family dinners and birthday dinners, stuff like that, it's gonna be kind of tough because you're either gonna have to like bring your food and look like a weirdo with some Tupperware with some chicken and rice in a restaurant, or you're just gonna not go. So that can have some negative effects on relationships with, you know, family, friends, significant others, such like that. You know, the relationship effects is, my family told me this actually once I was going through my diet, is you become very selfish and just your mindset is kind of focused on the one goal and the one thing. Because originally I was dieting because I was supposed to go and compete in a physique competition. So my mindset was just set on that show. I had 14 weeks to diet for that show. I'd go to the grocery store, I'd get whatever food I needed for my diet, not thinking, hey, do you guys need anything from the grocery store? So you kind of develop a selfish mindset when you start going into a dieting phase to get super lean body fat levels. And it's not necessarily a bad thing to be goal focused and orientated, but you just gotta try and, like, you know, snap out of it sometimes and realize that, you know, it's not just about me. Like, yes, it's really good to focus on yourself and your goals and your physique and whatnot, but you also gotta realize that there are still other people in your life that, you know, need some attention to. The third effect of fat loss is going to be the sleep effects that it has. So due to the restricted number of calories that your body is taking in, your sleep is gonna suck. There's no way around it. So really, it's just your body. There was times during my dieting that I would wake up at 3 in the morning and just be like, you know, bam, wide awake because your body is starving and it wakes you up. So it kind of sucks for trying to get like a really good, like, you know, 7 or 8 hours of sleep. your body's gonna be hungry, your sleep's kinda gonna suck. So what I do for that, you know, is I take some sleep aids. Melatonin's a good one. I talked about OxyRem in another video when I did my supplement video. I take that, it's a nighttime sleep fat burner. Oxy Sleep is another one, it's a powder form of it, and I will link those in the description below. But those are kind of a couple things that I do to help negate the negative sleep effects that the diet is going to have. And just to be clear, a lot of this stuff isn't gonna happen like, you know, 2 weeks you start dieting, 2 weeks later you're like, oh my God, I'm sleeping like shit, I have no sex drive, I'm hungry all the time. It's not gonna happen like that. It's gonna take a long time, and this is kind of more near the end of the diet. I would say probably like the last like 6 to 8 weeks is most likely when you're gonna find that you're having the biggest issues. So the fourth negative effect that is going to come from extreme fat loss is gonna be your performance in the gym. Again, since the low amount of calories that your body is taking in, the odds are your carb intake is gonna be a lot lower. That's just kind of one of the sacrifices that you have to make to get shredded. So your carb intake is gonna be a lot lower, and carbs is the main fuel source that our body uses to fuel training. So when your carbs are a little bit lower, you're not gonna be able to push as much weight, you're probably gonna fatigue faster, you're gonna find that you're a lot more tired like after an hour in the gym, whereas during like, you know, a normal bulking phase when you're taking in a lot of carbs, you can go for like 2 hours and you feel great. But that is one of the things. So a couple things I do negate this is if you have the room for the carbs, I will drink carbohydrates during my workout. Only like 15 to 20 grams of cluster dextrin. So I'll kind of drink that, or I'll start to drink that about half an hour, 45 minutes into my workout. Because I timed it and I found that my crash point on the lower calories was about an hour and 15 minutes into my workout. And I was only working out for like an hour and 30 and an hour and 40 minutes. So having that little bit of extra carbs during the workout just kind of makes it so I don't fatigue as fast, and then I can just push through the workout and continue going on. The other thing you're gonna wanna do is you're not gonna wanna switch up your training at all. So a lot of people think that as soon as they go from, you know, a bulking phase to cutting phase, all right, I'm gonna drop all the weight and just rep the shit out of these exercises. So we're gonna go, you know, 20, 25, even 30 reps. No, just keep your training the same as it was, and try and keep your weight to the same thing as it was. So if you were benching, you know, 200 pounds during the off season, you want to continue to try and bench 200 pounds as long as you can. And that is going to do a couple things. It's going to maintain your strength throughout the diet, and it's also going to maintain a lot of lean muscle mass throughout the diet. The last thing you want is to, you know, lose a bunch of muscle mass throughout the diet because you're just doing tons of cardio and look all skinny and flat. That's not an attractive look, believe me. That is what I did last year when I dieted. I thought I had enough muscle mass, just ended up getting really skinny fat. Fifth and final negative effect to dieting that I'm going to cover is the psychological effects. So for me personally, I think the psychological effects is the biggest negative to extreme fat loss. So, you know, during a dieting phase, you may develop something which is called body dysmorphia, where it's basically you think you're fatter than you are. Like I got down to like, you know, 7-8% body fat, and I still thought I was fat. I was like, I'd look in the mirror, you know, my abs looking the best they've ever looked since I started lifting, and I still thought I was fat. And now looking back at the photos, you know, because my hormones and my mind has kind of like gotten a little bit more back to normal, I can look at myself and be like, wow, I was actually really diced. But it's just with the low amount of calories, the low amount of carbs, your hormone levels are all messed up. You're not really thinking straight. You're kind of in a little bit of a brain fog. So you think you're fatter than you are, especially me. I used to be 250 pounds. So I think I have this, you know, psychological fear of becoming fat. And I mean, I lost like 80 pounds over the course of like 2 years. What, am I gonna put on that 80 pounds in the span of one day? No, it would take a long time to put back on that weight. Probably not 2 years, you know, if I wanted to eat just a bunch of but it's not gonna happen overnight just like that. Oh my God, wake up, I'm fat. Another big issue that I ran into after my dieting phase, which I might make another video talking about this, is I kind of developed a binge eating disorder. So during the diet, I did 14 weeks. I started off doing If It Fits Your Macros, which is really great if it works for you. So you kind of just have your set macro goals and you kind of just eat what foods are able to fill those. So you can fit things in like, you know, Halo Top ice cream if you want to have this, that, a little bit of that. It's totally fine because it's if you fit your macros. So I did that for like the first maybe 2 or 3 weeks of the diet, but then I found that sticking to one specific diet and all the same food all day long was just easier for me. It gave me consistent results. I knew what I was eating every day. I knew when I was eating it and that kind of thing. But restricting myself to those certain foods started to develop some unhealthy relationships with food. So once I was done the diet, I had like 1 or 2 cheat days. I was like, okay, I'm gonna have what I've been craving. You guys probably saw the video. I had what I was craving, and then that was it. And it's not like I continued eating like that for days on end after I did that. It was just, I'd find little things, like I'd snack a little bit here, I'd snack a little bit there. And I mean, not too big of a deal, but when it starts to pile up throughout the week, it's really not great for trying to maintain that lean physique that you work so hard to get. The biggest thing is you just need to have a plan for what you're gonna do once the diet is over. So the best thing you can do is to have a recovery diet. So what you're gonna wanna do is, as soon as your diet is over, say you finished your diet on 1,800 calories, you're gonna immediately wanna bump it up 200 or 300 calories. And that's mainly gonna be from carbs. You know, bump it up 2,100 calories, throw some carbs back in there. Your workouts are gonna feel great. You're just gonna feel less tired, less fatigued, less weak. So much of that. Bring your cardio down a little bit, and just, you can even do the if it fits your macros if you want, if you were doing a strict diet like I was, but just make sure you have a plan in place so you don't go and binge continually, can't stop yourself. It's really important to get your hormone levels back to normal. So, you know, you want that leptin up to a good level where it's gonna tell you that you're actually satiated when you are. And you want the ghrelin to a normal level so you're not like, oh my God, I'm hungry all the time, I'm gonna go and rip someone's arm off if I don't get some food. Like, you don't want that. It's really not fun and it's really not healthy. So those are pretty much the 5 major negatives to fat loss that I have found over the course of this last diet. And I don't know everything. I'm young, I've only done a couple dieting cycles, and I still have a lot to learn. But this has just been my personal experience, and I thought I would share it with you guys just so you know, if you are planning on going into a strict fat loss diet like I did, you just kind of know what to expect. Some of these things you can try and avoid, like the binge eating. Some of the things, like the hormones going up and down, that you can't really avoid. You just got to do your best to deal with it. But nevertheless, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to drop a like on it. Subscribe down below if you guys haven't already. And with that out of the way, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.